Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mental Motivator. I'm your host, Nakia Campbell, and as always, I am so excited to have all of you tuning in from around the world to witness ordinary people who've been able to use the power of their mindsets to achieve extraordinary success. Today's guest, she's an advocate for safer communities and social justice. She's a producer and author. She's many things, but I'll just sum it up and say that she's a phenomenal woman. Before I announce her name, take a look at this clip.
Story that's ignited fierce passions across the nation as allegations of racism and miscarriage of justice tear apart a small Florida town.
Sometimes it takes losing a child in order for you to stand up. I've been standing ever since. I'm still standing. My name is Sybrina Fulton. I'm from Miami, Florida. My occupation is public speaker, author, community activist, mother. I got involved with this movement because I lost my son, Trayvon Martin, on February 26, 2012. The reason why I do this movement and I feel like I have to do what I'm doing is because my son Trayvon is not here to speak for himself. So I speak for all the Trayvon Martins. I speak for my son. I speak for your son. I speak for America. I have to fight. I have to fight for the people that cannot fight for themselves.
So, Miss Fulton, I first want to say thank you and that it's an honor to have you on the Mental Motivator TV show today. Millions of people around the world are very familiar with who you are and your story. But for the people out there who don't know who you are, please tell the viewers a little bit more about you.
My name is Sybrina Fulton. I'm from Miami, Florida. I have two boys. I have one in heaven and one here on earth. My 17-year-old son, Trayvon Martin, was killed February 26, 2012. When my son got shot down, I stood up. And so it's very important that people know that. And when they think about Trayvon Martin, they think about also his mom, his dad, who spoke up for him. So he was 17 years old. He was in Sanford, Florida. A confrontation of some sort ensued. The person who shot and killed my 17-year-old unarmed son was a 28-year-old self-appointed neighborhood crime watch captain that followed my son, chased my son, pursued my son, and ultimately shot and killed my son. There were several rallies all over the United States and some in different countries that stood up for my son. Right. And I appreciate those people that did stand up, those people that did rally, and they understood the concept of the hoodie. A lot of times people look at the hoodie and they say that that person looks suspicious, but only when they are a person of color. Right. And so as I travel, I understand that a little bit better, that it had nothing to do with Trayvon's hoodie. It had to do with the color of his skin.
Right. Racism. So do you feel that racism and our American justice system today still have that issue?
Definitely. I believe that our system still deals with racism, discrimination, racial profiling. We still are addressing those issues.
Right. So if you could go to that day when Trayvon was killed, walking down the street at night with a bag of Skittles and a tea and a cell phone, and someone reached out to you to say that your son was no longer here, what was your initial reaction to that?
My initial reaction was disbelief. I didn't really believe it. It didn't hit me when Tracy first told me, because I just simply didn't believe it. I didn't believe that my 17-year-old son had been shot and killed. I just never in a million years would I have thought that that was something that would have happened to him. If I did, I would have kept him at home, you know, so I definitely didn't, believe or maybe the trauma hadn't set in. But I really didn't believe it. I thought that maybe somebody photoshopped a picture, or I just really didn't believe it. And so it took a minute for me to really understand what Tracy had told me.
Right. And who is Tracy?
Tracy is Trayvon's dad.
Okay. Okay. And in your beginning answer, you said your son went down and you stood up. And this situation that has happened to you has happened to so many mothers around the world. But those mothers seem to go silent after that season is over. They give up the fight. It's too much of a struggle. Why haven't you given up?
I refuse to give up. I think that since my son is not here, I have to be the spokesperson for him. I also want to make not only Trayvon proud, but my oldest son. I want to make sure that they see that their mother is an advocate for children, and to let people know and to send a clear message that our children matter. And so it's just a passion. It's just something that's instilled in me. A lot of times other mothers are not able to speak because this situation is traumatic.
Right.
And they're broken and they don't know how to come back from that brokenness.
Right.
And so I think when they see other women doing it, when they see other moms doing it, it kind of helps them motivate themselves to know I can stand up for my child too.
Right. And I do want to speak to the strength that you have, the strength that comes through my television when I see you speak, when I see you walk. I've seen the tears, but most of the time the tears are only because of the support that you've seen when you see the big crowds of people show up for you and your son, somebody that these people don't even know, but they're showing up for you. And that says a lot about you and a lot about the fight and the movement that you have here for Trayvon. And I always feel like you said, you'll never give up. I feel like the stories that we have in our lives, the things that God takes us to and brings us through, He does that so that we can save the lives of other people. And so I want to know from your perspective, what are some of the ways that you've been able to use your story to help other people who might experience this situation?
Well, one of the things that I can certainly say, I exposed a lot of things that had happened with my son's case. Other than that, people would only rely on what the news and the media said. And so I needed to be a spokesperson for my son. I needed to let them know that he was unarmed, that he was 17 years old, that he was dead on the ground. They did a background check on him, which nothing came up. They did a drug and alcohol testing on him, but the person who was standing over him with a loaded gun, they didn't do a background check. They didn't do drug and alcohol. That's the person that they needed to be checked.
Right.
So we have to really stand in the gap for other mothers. A lot of times people are not able to speak. It's not that they don't have a platform or they don't want to speak. They're not able to. And so I try to stand up for those moms who are not able to speak, who are not able to express themselves, who are not able to move to the next chapter. I understood what happened in my chapter 5, and I also understood what happened in chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so I have to stand up. I don't feel like there is another option for me.
Right.
So one of the things that you asked was, what did I do? And some of the things that I did to move to my next chapter.
Right.
I think the first thing I did was I had to align my outside with my inside, because a lot of people were telling me how strong I was, but I didn't feel that way. I felt weak. But every time I went on the news, every time I spoke somewhere, they always say, oh, you're so strong, you're so strong, you're so strong. My body was not in alignment with what people saw. Right. And so I needed to get myself together internally so that what they saw, I actually felt. Right. And so that took some time. That took some time. If I had stayed in my purple room and just cried, they would have understood. If I end up going in a mental institution, people would understand. Right. They understand because when you lose a child, that's the worst possible thing that you can have, that can happen to a mother. And so when I lost my child, one of the things that I did is I had to get myself together internally. Once I was able to do that, I started reaching out to other mothers. And it's something about when you help other mothers that it also helps heal and take some of the sting away from what you're going through. Because when you lose a child, that's the most severe. I believe if I had some disease in my body and I needed to have treatment for it, or I needed to have surgery, I believe I can get through. But when you lose a child, you feel like you cannot get through those times. And so I truly believe that God was working on me. He was definitely working on me, because I don't think Sybrina would have been able to get through those times.
Right. And I tell people that all the time. When they try to say, Nakia, you so strong, I say, that's not me. That's the strength of the Lord, because Nakia would be under this floor. Nakia probably would have committed suicide. Nakia probably wouldn't even be here today. So when you look at me, just know that's the grace and the mercy that God showed me every single day. That's the strength that he created me with, So when we come back from this break, we are going to jump into our second segment and a few more questions with Miss Fulton. And we are back with our second segment with Miss Sybrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin. And so I want to ask two questions that is going to sum up our first segment so that we can move on to everything new and wonderful in your life. That first question is, you mentioned earlier that you have a son, another son. So I want to know, after the death of Trayvon, did you feel that you had to change the way you parented or protected your son who was still living, or were you unafraid for his safety?
I think we always afraid for our children, knowing the culture of the United States. I mean, just looking at what goes on in the news, I mean, everybody is probably fearful. But this made me more protective. I mean, he's not a teenager, he's a young man, and it made me more protective. During our journey, he would be with me sometimes, and sometimes you wouldn't see him. He would be behind the scenes, because I wanted him to have some part of a normal life. And so Tracy and I chose to do interviews and chose to be advocates and chose to be the voice for Trayvon Martin. He did not. He's more low key. And, I just really wanted him to be protected, and I wanted him to live a normal life as best as he could. Yes.
Right. I do believe that there are so many people, especially of celebrity status, who bring their children out into this industry, into the media, into this type of world, and it definitely damages a lot of them in the long run. So I do believe that it's fair to let children make that decision. And this next question might be a hard one, but there's a reason that I ask. Have you forgiven George Zimmerman?
Absolutely not. I mean, I am a Christian. I pray. I believe in God. I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I believe at some point in time I will have to forgive. I'm just not there yet. I don't know if I'll ever be. But I am smart enough to know that when somebody asks me that question, not to just tell you what you want to hear. I'm telling you from my heart that I have not forgiven. I know that I have to forgive in order for God to forgive the things that I have done, but I'm just not there yet.
Right. And that's completely fair. That's completely fair, and it's completely real. Healing comes in your own time, on your own timeline, not anyone else's. And so does forgiveness. So we'll move on to a much brighter segment, to where we can talk about the celebrations, because throughout my lifetime, anytime I've had to go to a funeral of someone who has passed, The pastor is sure to let us know that we are not here to mourn. We are here to celebrate, to create a legacy for our loved one that has moved on. And so I want to know from your eyes, what do you do to continue to celebrate the life of Trayvon?
That's an easy one. We, through the Trayvon Martin Foundation, we do what is called a peace walk and a peace talk. And that's because we want to send a clear message that Trayvon Martin had a right to walk in peace without being followed, chased, pursued, profiled, or murdered. And so we do that with the community. They've even done that in different states and different cities, but we make sure we do it every year, and we celebrate his birth and not his death. So February 26th, I'm probably not going to do anything, but around his birthday, that's the time where I was happy. That's the time where I was most proud of him and proud to be a mom. And so that's the time that I want to remember. And so we do a peace walk. You know, it's with the community. We invite the youth out. We invite the schools out. We invite the mentorship groups and, you know, different partners that we have. We invite everybody to come out. It's very loud because we have a DJ, we have bands. You know, we just try to hype up the community. And at the end of the peace walk is the peace talk. And that's when we have those people speak. They might be doing poetry. They might be singing. It might be a dance. Just something to uplift the community.
True celebration.
Yeah, definitely something to uplift the community.
Right.
And encourage the community to let them know that what they see right now is not forever. That this too shall pass and we'll move on to another phase of life.
Amen. Well, you've mentioned the peace walk and the peace talk, so go ahead and let everybody know, when is that taking place this year and how can they be a part of this?
They can go on the website, is TrayvonMartinFoundation.org. Our first event is Saturday, February 3rd. At 8 o'clock here in Miami, Florida.
Y'all get out here now, get out here.
Miami, Florida, where it's a lot of snow in other parts of the United States.
Oh.
We still have great weather.
Y'all, it's 80 degrees today.
We still have great weather, and we encourage people to come out. We invite them to wear a red shirt for all the bloodshed, not just Trayvon Martin, but all the Trayvon Martins that they've heard about and the ones that they don't know. And so on that Saturday, we're going to meet up at 8 o'clock. We're going to walk from Carol City Park, roughly on 183rd Street and 32nd Avenue. We're going to walk from, you park your car there. We're going to walk from the Carol City Park down to Betty Ferguson. Once we get there, it's a stage there, and we're going to have, you know, a program, and we have food, we have food trucks, we have vendors, we have resources, we got music, of course, we have our local radio stations to come out, we got the Girl Scouts coming out, we just try to do something to give back to the community.
That's beautiful. Like my head can't even stop shaking. Am I invited to the peace walk?
Yes.
Y'all, I'm invited to the peace walk, peace talk. I'm gonna have to get another ticket to Miami, because I definitely want to be here.
Yes.
To celebrate you and to celebrate Trayvon and this movement that you have going on, because I have seen some footage of the prior peace walk.
Okay.
And those people showed up and showed out, and they carried that banner with pride. They carried that banner with pride, screaming, "No justice, no peace," all in the name of Trayvon Martin. All in the name of Trayvon Martin. So I know that you also do some things for the mothers.
Wait, before I get to the mothers, okay, that's February 3rd. On February 4th, it's a formal sit-down dinner that we do. That's our gala. It's a fundraiser. Every year they sing happy birthday to Trayvon, and I tell myself I'm not going to cry, and I end up crying, but it's okay. People understand.
Yes.
And, you know, it's a sit-down dinner. It's a formal event, like I said, and we have performers to come out, usually a band, and it's a very nice event. You know, it gives us a chance to dress up and look all pretty and have the guys that look good.
Right.
And we give out awards at that particular event to people who have partnered with the Trayvon Martin Foundation and people who are just doing major moves in the community to help to try to solve the gun violence issue.
Right. So you have the peace walk on February the 3rd.
And peace talk on February.
The peace
walk
right.
and peace talk on February 3rd, and on February 4th we have the gala, the Trayvon Martin gala. So we have a remembrance weekend each year.
Okay, and then that weekend, does that weekend lead up to Trayvon's actual birthday?
Yes, and sometimes it actually falls on his birthday.
Oh, because if y'all don't know, Trayvon's birthday is actually February the 5th, right?
Yes, it is.
February the 5th. Y'all, I'm amazed at what's going on and how this huge citywide, statewide, nationwide celebration happens for Trayvon Martin. For Trayvon Martin. And you are out here helping other mothers to learn to celebrate their lost sons and daughters as well. And how are you doing that?
I'm doing that through the vessel of the Trayvon Martin Foundation again. It's called Circle of Mothers. When my son was shot and killed, there was no organization, there was no program, there was nothing for me to connect with. You know, it was just moms who had lost a child, but there was no program like that to connect with. And so it was a dream that came to me one night, and I got up and I started writing. And when I woke up the next day, I didn't say anything to anybody. I just got my team together for a meeting, and then I told them, and it was as if I had already been to the Circle of Mothers, and I told them what we needed to do. So now I think we just had our 10th year, and I usually bring 100 mothers to the South Florida area. And it's about empowerment, it's about bonding, it's about healing. And I have to attend because I'm one of those moms as well. And so, you know, it helps me as well. It helps the moms, but it helps me as well. And the sad part about it is there's no shortage of moms. I just have to make sure that I have the right funding in order to bring the moms here, because I fly them in, I put them up at the hotel, make sure all their food is taken care of. I give them a comfort bag, you know, with a lot of goodies in there. I'm very fussy about those bags. A t-shirt, and everything is purple because that's what I saw in my dream.
Purple. Royalty, because it's all in the name of a king. Your king, he definitely gained his crown. Maybe before anybody expected it, but he definitely gained his crown. And look at all of the look at all this amazing work that you've been able to do to help so many other people. I'm a mom. I've been a single mom for 15 years to my 15-year-old son, and I cannot imagine. I don't want to imagine it. I don't want to imagine it. But it's women like you who can give hope to the rest of us in whatever situation that we're facing. All of our stories are different, so I may not have lost a son, but I've had another struggle. And just your story, you know, helps me and so many other people to be able to live through that. How many women are registered into your Circle of Mothers, or is there a registration, or do you just select a different group of 100 women each year? Well,
actually, I have a waiting list, and I also have a committee. And I get with my committee because a lot of moms I meet like in my travel. I might speak to some moms in Chicago, so I might grab 2 moms from there. For Veterans Day in November, I spoke to women, the veterans women who had been in the military. I may pick up some women from there. Like different places that I go, I'm usually connecting with other moms. And so I'm going to put those people on the list. But then sometimes they call the office, they send emails, they send messages on social media, which I don't have time to read.
Look, stop DMing her, she said.
Well, I don't have time to read, but There's no shortage of moms. I have more than enough moms probably for the next few years.
What, for the next few years?
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you know over the next few years, when you take care of that list, how many more moms are going to need to be added?
Well,
Like, it's
only the news will tell you the actual numbers.
right.
But definitely there is no shortage of moms.
No shortage.
No.
No shortage. I have a very good friend who just lost her son last November. So seeing the grief that she sometimes still holds on to, when most people know nothing about it. I can call her one day and say, hey, girl, and it'll be on the other end, hey, girl. And I can call her sometimes and say, hey, girl. And it'll be bursting into tears. I can't do it today. Today is not the day. I'm having that moment. So if there's one thing that when the world hears Trayvon Martin that you want them to know about your sweet 17-year-old baby boy, like if there's one message, what is that message?
I would tell, whether they have kids or not, I would tell people that a child is a child. And the Bible tells you how innocent children are. So while this 28-year-old man was following Trayvon and knew that he was a teenager, Trayvon was unarmed. Trayvon was wearing a hoodie. Trayvon had candy and a drink. Trayvon was on the phone with a young lady. So he wasn't really paying attention to his surroundings. And so a lot of times, as much as moms, as much as we preach to our kids, pay attention, take a friend, don't go over here, go over here. We really don't know how to protect our children because there's so much hatred out there and there's so many people that are looking at the color of our skin and decide this person is good or this person is bad.
Right.
And so I would tell them, just cover your children, just cover them and let them live their life.
Right. Cover your children, protect them, be the mama bears that you were created to be to your baby cubs. But right when we come back from this break, we're going to wrap up this interview with Miss Sybrina Fulton. Are you ready to inspire the world with your story? Visit us at thementalmotivator.com and schedule a consultation to be our next guest. And we are back on the Mental Motivator to wrap up this segment with Miss Sybrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin. And let me say, what is your other son's name? Because
Javaris.
Because we do not only want to solely focus on Trayvon when she has a whole nother beautiful son still here in existence. So one thing that I read was that Trayvon Martin's clothes, you have finally given them away after a few years. So can you tell me about that?
I was approached by the African American Museum in DC. Probably 3 years. It took about 3 years. And finally on that third year when they came back and they asked for the clothes to be on display, I thought about it and I told them, let me sleep on it. And I prayed on it and I thought about it and I said, what am I going to do with these clothes?
Right.
How can I preserve the clothes? And I said the best decision was for me to hand them over to the museum, because if I gave Trayvon's story to America, by certain it's not going to be robbery for me to give the clothes. So in the museum, they're on their second exhibit actually.
Wow.
Yes, the hoodie, the pants, the shoes, his cell phone, the drink, the candy, all of that was part of an exhibit. And now they have another exhibit that they're working on, the Afrocentric, and it deals with careers and jobs. And he was interested in aviation, and so his flight suit is there.
What?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. I think it is, your son is just, that's remarkable. That the world has reached out, not only to support, but they want to put him on display. Now, we know that Trayvon Martin was not Jesus. But I tell you what, Jesus came here and he saved the world because his body was put on display. Everything about Trayvon is being put on display. His clothes, his aviation suit, his face is all over the news. His face is on this peace walk, on this gala, on every single thing that we're doing. Nobody has forgotten the boy in that white hoodie. Nobody has forgotten that he is still on display for the world to see. Even though that happened in 2012, when most of the other names, we don't even remember. We remember Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Garner,
George Floyd.
We remember most of these names, but most of our Black children, most of our loved ones who are adults, those names are quickly forgotten. And I thank God that Trayvon has been put on display and will continue to be put on display for many years to come. Many years to come. Many years to come. So you spoke about, if I give these clothes to America. But I also know that you felt like America let you down when it came to your son's death in the justice system. So how did your mindset and the thoughts that you had around the American justice system and your son's death, how did your mindset contribute to the positive step forward for you being able to let go of those clothes, for you being able to not stay silent and start these peace walks? How does your positive mindset play a role in all of these things that you do on a daily basis?
Well, I think about something my pastor said in 2012, and he said that trials and tribulations don't build character. Trials and tribulations reveal it. So I just truly believe that's Arthur Jackson.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Arthur Jackson the third.
In Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in Miami Gardens.
Woo.
So I just truly believe that what people are seeing is just who I am.
Right.
You know, and you know, as a mother, that it's hard to see something happen to your child and you not react.
Right.
So I am still reacting to what happened to my son. So I think it's a continuous. I think it woke up Mama Bear. It woke up a passion in me. It woke up the fact that I need to continue to say that our children matter.
Right.
Because our children are being omitted from the VIP list.
Right.
And so if we don't say that our children matter, who is going to say that our children matter? Right. So I think that's very important for people to understand and for people to remember.
Right. And we definitely have to continue to say our children matter, because someone has to make them believe it. Children are innocent. And a lot of times they are swayed by social media, swayed by the other kids at school, the kids on the school bus. A lot of times they're left not knowing how to think or how to feel for themselves. And it is up to us as mothers to feed that information into our kids, especially our young Black boys, until they're able to do it for themselves.
And then to go a step further, I think I was like any other African American or just American citizen who felt, sure, you heard things about the justice system, but you thought, just like I did, for sure, if it's a 17-year-old and it's a 28-year-old man with a loaded gun, that this person that's 28 years old would definitely be going to jail.
Right.
But that only works if the person who did the shooting was African American. It seems like the justice system is not does not provide justice for everybody. And so I learned that lesson. That was the first time I had been at a trial. That's the first time, you know, I was involved in the court system other than a traffic ticket or something similar. Like that was a rude awakening for me. And it caused me not to believe in the justice system. If you are not clear on things that are happening with the justice system, just switch those roles around and just think about Trayvon shooting somebody else and the person was unarmed. For sure, Trayvon would have went to jail that particular evening. Under any circumstances would he have been able to go home and get in his bed. And so we got to think about those things. We can't just let the media put things out there and we just absorb them and take things in. We got to be asking questions. Well, what if that was my son? And that's something that makes people continue to talk about what happened with Trayvon Martin.
That is what makes the rest of us keep it alive, because we have not yet seen change. And there are a lot of us who are still, somewhat. And I think the change that has been created has definitely started with you. Definitely started with you. Because I saw no conviction in Trayvon's case, but I saw conviction in several other cases that followed. So the change that took place, I know it was because you stood up, like you said, when your son went down. You stood up. And because you did, you helped change the trajectory of so many other families' lives after that. What piece of advice can you give to another mother about turning pain into purpose?
So I really think in order for you to turn pain into purpose, that you can't expect anything back from it. You can't expect to get paid. You can't expect people to give you any accolades. You can't expect anything. You have to go into it with a clear mind and say, I'm doing this because this is what I need to do for myself. This is what I need to do for my family. This is what I need to do for my son. And you have to be very intentional. And so I think a lot of times, you know, people do stuff and they say things for recognition. You know, but when I'm talking and when I'm speaking and when I'm, you know, trying to encourage someone, it's not so that I could get something back. It's so I can get something that I'm pouring something out of me. And so I think a lot of times we have to keep that in mind.
Serve your purpose without payment. That's what she said. Serve your purpose without payment. If it's your purpose, you will do it regardless whether you were being paid for it or not. I love it. Y'all, I'm blown away. I'm almost speechless, and y'all know I talk a lot. Well, Ms. Fulton, I want to thank you again for this interview today, for coming here to relive, to rethink, to rehash the situation that happened to Trayvon so long ago. But I think it's forever of importance. That story deserves to live today, just like it lived in 2012, just like it should be living in 2036 and on from there. So thank you so much for coming here. Before we go, I would love for you to tell everyone how they can reach out to you if they want to join the Circle of Mothers, if they want to follow you on social media, if you have a website, and how they can donate to your foundations to keep these events going.
First, before I even tell you anything, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your prayers. They have been received. I want to also mention that we do have the Trayvon Martin Foundation, and it's TrayvonMartinFoundation.org. You can donate there, or you can buy merchandise at that website. And we just encourage people to do so we can continue to do the work in the name of Trayvon Martin and the other Trayvon Martins that you don't hear about on the news or social media. And so we are very mindful that this is not all about Trayvon Martin, that this is about our young Black and brown boys and girls who you have not heard about. And so I just want to start by saying thank you, and I want to end by saying thank you.
Awesome. Well, y'all, this has been another episode of the Mental Motivator. And I want to reiterate what Miss Fulton said, what Pastor said at the church. What did he say? Your trials and tribulations don't build character.
They reveal.
They reveal it. And I love that so much because if you can see Miss Fulton sitting here today, you can see her character revealed. It is also on display. She did not become strong after her son's death. She was already created that way. She did not become a speaker, an advocator, a mama bear, a phenomenal woman. She was already created that way. And her son's death only revealed that to the whole entire world. I hope that you have watched her story today and been inspired to find your own success story. I hope that her story inspires you to thrive in spite of every challenge, every obstacle that you face in life, whether it be a divorce, abuse, death of a loved one, anything that you may be experiencing. And ultimately, I hope that Miss Fulton's story has inspired you to change the way that you live, think, and thrive. Until next time, y'all. Peace.